Hello, on this Sunday, you are joining us here for Atlanta News First Plus. I'm Megan Packer here on the First Alert desk to update you on the very latest on the breaking news that we have been following since it happened yesterday, an attempted assassination against former President Donald Trump at a rally in Pennsylvania yesterday. We've learned a lot of new information overnight and into the morning, so I'll walk you through what has come in, and then after we update you on that, we will check in with First Alert meteorologist Courtney Jacobazzi. We also have to talk about our weather here in North Georgia. Get ready for extreme heat. It is a First Alert weather day. The next few days are First Alert weather days. We are talking about some very, very hot days to come, so we'll get to that in just a minute. But right now, I do want to update you on the very latest, what's happening with this investigation into the suspected shooter there in western Pennsylvania. Let's take a look at the suspected shooter's house from overnight. This is where police and authorities surrounded the house of the 20-year-old suspected shooter, Thomas Matthew Crooks. He is from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. It's about an hour or so away from where that rally was held yesterday in western Pennsylvania. The FBI identified him overnight, again, accused of attempting to assassinate former President Donald Trump while he was up on stage speaking at the rally yesterday. One person in the crowd was killed. Two people were critically injured by the bullets that went flying there last evening. Again, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, is that suspect who has been identified. Officials say it was difficult to ID him at first because he did not have identification on him at the time. Agents say they were using photographs and DNA to figure out who he was. Some background here that we've learned: records show he was a registered Republican voter in Pennsylvania, but records also show that when he was a teenager, he donated $15 to a progressive political action committee on the day President Joe Biden was sworn into office. We are taking an overhead look here of the site of that shooting yesterday. So here it is. This is where the rally was held. You can see where the stage was. You can see where the crowd was set up. And then off to the side there, in the distance, you can see where they say that this shooter was set up. They say that he fired an AR-15 rifle from a rooftop, at least an AR-style rifle from a rooftop, about 400 feet away from the rally stage where Donald Trump was speaking. And officials say the gunman was shot and killed by a member of the Secret Service counter-assault team. By now, perhaps you have seen the images of the snipers up on the roofs surrounding that stage. Again, a Secret Service counter-assault team member returned fire, shooting and killing that 20-year-old suspect. And officials say the roof where the shooter was on was just outside of the security perimeter that had been established for the event. We know that is a question a lot of people have today, is how did that happen? How did no one catch him getting up on that roof with a rifle? So in the days to come, we will be learning more about that as we hear different witness accounts and so forth. Now, law enforcement snipers posted inside the security zone were able to respond immediately. We have seen them get up onto the stage. They surrounded the president until they were told that the shooter was down, and then they whisked the president off into his SUV and got him away there for medical treatment. Here is some video of the president arriving in New Jersey overnight after he was checked out. Again, he was grazed in the ear, we understand, by one of the rounds. He was checked out at a local facility there before he flew back to New Jersey overnight. So here he is getting off of his plane. And again, this was just hours ago, just after midnight. So we are hearing all kinds of reaction from across the country, across the world, really, and of course, across Georgia. Georgia politicians are weighing in on this, and we are hearing from people on both sides of the aisle. I'll just go through a few of the statements that we're hearing, including from Republican Governor Brian Kemp. Part of what he wrote says, "This attempt on former President Trump's life is horrific and contrary to everything our nation stands for in America." go back and show you his statement here. He goes on to say, we settle political disagreements peacefully at the ballot box, not through heinous acts of violence. One of our U.S. senators here in Georgia, Reverend Raphael Warnock, a Democrat, wrote in part here, I am deeply saddened by today's events in Pennsylvania. I condemn any violence aimed at former President Trump in the strongest terms and pray for him, his family, and our nation. So again, that is just a little bit of the reaction, but a lot of people posting on social media right now, again, on both sides of the aisle, they are just shocked by this and condemning the violence in any and all ways. Now, of course, the RNC starts tomorrow in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Donald Trump is expected to still attend. He says he will still be speaking there. So we will have a crew there. Atlanta News First has a crew headed to Milwaukee. So we are curious to see how the tone and tenor changes there for that convention, how the security will change. We know things must be happening right now to make some changes there, and we will be checking in throughout the week with our crew who was there. So keep it right here with Atlanta News First Plus. We will continue to update you on the very latest. It really is developing by the moment. We have a lot to learn. Still no identification yet of the person who was killed, the two people who were critically injured, and a lot more to learn about the suspected shooter as well, as a federal investigation now starts into this. The FBI is taking over this investigation. So as we learn more, we will keep you updated every step of the way. So let us take a look outside right now. Let's turn to our weather, because that is something else we need to get you caught up on. It is the weekend here. It is a July weekend, and we know a lot of you have plans, as always. So I'll bring in First Alert meteorologist Courtney Jacobazzi as we look at downtown. It looks pretty nice. We've enjoyed the blue skies today, Courtney, that we've been seeing. It's just the heat that follows in just a little bit.
Absolutely. All that sunshine, no clouds impeding the sun. It's going to feel really, really hot today. In fact, a First Alert weather day because of the heat. In fact, on track right now to break a record. The record 98 degrees, and we're going to hit 99 today. So very, very hot afternoon incoming, but we could say that about every afternoon in the recent past, with the exception of maybe, I believe it was last Thursday, where we hit the upper 80s. So that was our little break. And we do have some relief from the heat on the way within the 7-day forecast, and we'll talk about that as well. And of course, that's all relative because we're in the middle of summer. So a break from the heat is just taking a brief break from the 90s, really. Speaking of 90s, we've had a handful of them so far this year. We've had 31 90-plus degree days, including a 100-degree day so far this year. And in a normal year in Atlanta, we usually only pick up about 38 90-degree days. So we're not even through summer. We're not even through the hottest month of the year, and we've already almost picked up the amount of 90-degree days that we get in an entire year. So we usually see 90s even into September, October. So definitely a warm year so far, and a warm end to spring and start to summer that we've had. Now today, we do have our First Alert weather day because it's going to be very, very hot. In fact, our heat risk very high as well. So the National Weather Service just created this product this year, and it's our way to describe to you the heat risk, how dangerous the heat will be. Kind of similar to the Storm Prediction Center, how they give us level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 outlooks for storm risk. This is that for heat. So notice a high risk for heat across just about all of North Georgia, with that extreme risk for Hall County. So if you do have plans to go to Lake Lanier today, you just need to make sure that you are taking extra precautions there because the heat risk is going to be extremely high over on the lakefront. Lots of water, shade, all the above to keep yourself nice and cool. Already very hot, closer to 90 degrees in Atlanta if you're tuning in with us live here just after 10 o'clock. If you want to head to the pool today, it'll honestly be a great day to do so. Make sure you're wearing your sunscreen, again, drinking lots of water. UV index also high today with all that sunshine. Low 90s by noon, and then we'll head into the upper 90s this afternoon with just an isolated thunderstorm possible through the day today. Very similar to yesterday. Pretty much copy and paste yesterday's forecast to today, just add a couple of degrees to that high temperature. Here's a look at the highs today. Mid to upper 90s for all of us. 99 for a high in Atlanta, the record 98. So that's what we're talking about when it comes to that record heat. But all of us will be in the mid to upper 90s with the exception of the mountains today. A very steamy end to the weekend. Thankfully, the humidity, though, won't be super high. It's going to be a hot day, but not a hot and humid day, and we know that makes all the difference. But tomorrow, the humidity starts to ramp up. So we do have first alert weather days all the way through Tuesday for the heat. 99 for a high tomorrow, so that won't break the record. The record's actually 100 for tomorrow, but we could hit 100. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but it will feel very much like 100. And then Tuesday, 97 degrees, but Tuesday's humidity gets extremely high. So I think we'll more than likely have a heat advisory for Tuesday with feels like temperatures anywhere between 102 to 105 degrees. Late week, a cold front starts to make its way closer. Doesn't look like it's going to push all the way through the state, but it'll kind of stall across the southeast, which will just give us a really unsettled pattern starting Wednesday. And then the reason for that front moving in is we're going to get a dip in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere, the jet stream. And this is kind of the difference between some of our past cold fronts. We haven't gotten this dip into North Georgia. But now that we're going to get a little bit of a sinking of the jet stream, that's going to pull in some cooler air for us. So you work in the cooler air in the mid to upper levels plus all the rain. That's going to give us below average temperatures as we head into Friday and Saturday, which I think a lot of people can get behind. We could use a little bit of a break from the really high heat. Here's a look at that rain. So again, the first alert weather day for Monday and Tuesday, and of course today because of the heat, but we will have the chance for at least isolated storms each afternoon. But then notice Wednesday, we start to up that coverage. I know that looks like it's going to be a rainy mess on Wednesday. I have us at a 40% coverage of showers and thunderstorms on Wednesday. That front's still going to be a little further to our north, so I don't think we'll get all that much of widespread rain that I think it's going to have a huge impact on your day. And notice Thursday and Friday, you start to see more of the yellow and orange colors. That front starts to sink over the state on Thursday and Friday. So that will just add that extra lift to allow for more heavy rain, that chance for thunderstorms, and it'll all be very widely scattered. So those are the first alert weather days for the widespread rain and storms on Thursday and Friday. We could pick up some really beneficial rainfall. Take a look at these latest totals, and you can kind of see how that front stalls to our north. It doesn't completely push all the way through the state because that's where the higher rainfall totals are. That front kind of serves as a focal point for showers and thunderstorms. So south of I-20, you'll pick up about an inch to an inch and a half of rain. But from Atlanta north, you could pick up between 2 to 4 inches of rain over the next 7 days, which would be great. Of course, all at once, that could lead to some flash flooding issues. So that's something we'll have to be watching. But nonetheless, our drought monitor really didn't improve much last week. So I think this will put a really good put that drought monitor rather in a good direction. When it comes to the temperatures, again, we'll be in the mid to upper 90s through Wednesday, and then we'll go down into the low 90s Thursday and Friday. We head into the upper 80s, and that's where we stay as we head into this upcoming weekend. So beyond this weekend, we'll start next weekend very different. Started this weekend in the upper 90s, we'll start next weekend in the mid 80s. So get ready for it. I know a lot of you will enjoy it, even if it does come with some rain. So here's a look at that first alert 7-day forecast. More first alert weather days than not this week. Just a lot to talk about in terms of the really high heat, and then of course the rainier pattern that sets up late week. So really high heat, just make sure, you're taking breaks, especially if you work outdoors. Just be keeping that at top of mind as you go back to work tomorrow because it's going to feel well into the triple digits Monday and Tuesday. Today, the humidity is staying lower, but if we hit 99, which I do think we will, we'll break a record. And then as we head into the middle of the week, we'll start to get a little stormier at the 40% coverage of storms on Wednesday, highs in the mid 90s. And then we really increase those rain chances Thursday and Friday. So our first alert weather days go from being for heat to rain and storms. Just letting you know that you're probably going to need to add some extra time, especially for that evening commute Thursday and Friday, with temperatures dropping back into the mid to upper 80s to round out the week and start next weekend. Something I think we'll all look forward to just a little bit after this very hot stretch of weather that we've had. All right, everyone, thanks so much for staying with us for your top stories and your weather. Of course, we'll continue to update you right here on Atlanta News First Plus, atlantanewsfirst.com, all of our social platforms as we continue to learn more about the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump and all the other developing stories that come about today across North Georgia. And we'll continue to keep you updated on your forecast on the First Alert Weather app, so be sure to have that handy. Hope you make it a wonderful Sunday, and we'll catch you here next time.